the limitations of my single life and my single pain either was going to make me narcissistic. Oh, look how interesting my story is. Let me tell you about it forever. Or it was just going to be really lonely to be stuck in it. And so the beauty of it is that this has given me a chance to talk to people about the things that take their lives apart and to ask, well, what would it be like if we didn't treat our lives like problems to be solved? Are there things in our own tradition that we can reach for that make us more likely to feel loved and carried forward, to have a thicker definition of hope and courage? That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I sometimes found the church was like a really hard place for me to be sick sometimes, because it was, it's always embarrassing when you're as needy as you are, but it was also like the place I needed to go. But I used to have this army of lovely do-gooders who, even if they didn't always have the right thing to say, always showed up because they were just that person. So I always had those people praying for me. I always had Roger from my church who was willing to show up at 4 a.m. to take me to the airport. And he did not have a single thing to say that whole ride. So sometimes it's just like that gift of presence that the church is kind of better at than anyone else. So they're kind of my favorite. When I compare the diversity of our platforms are like, and I just mean like places where we have conversations like Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or, it is a very different way to be a public intellectual than it was 10 years ago. And I think part of the gift of this moment is that it kicks us out of the assumption that just the ideas itself are going to do the work. Because I know that, in the mainline and in the academy, we're so grateful for long form thought that sometimes we think like, oh, nailed it. This will surely go out to the masses. And I have found that the market and trying to learn how to have these conversations on social media has been a real humbler for me because I'm not naturally good at it. And also I have to learn how to break down like what do I really want people to be having in this conversation into smaller but very intelligible bites. And so what I think of when I think of all these platforms, what I really think is what is the main conversation that I get the privilege of being a part of because of my vantage point. It is so funny to be doing like anti-Instagram theology, like anti your life is going to be good, better, best life now. You can have a presentation of your life that somehow matches a set of deep virtues you're supposed to have. Oh, look, I'm beautiful, posing in front of a sign that says kindness. Like, it's just wild, right? And like trying to not lie to people. I mean, in our personal lives, in our self-presentation, that's hard work right now. I think the most fun part is to be able to just talk about the same themes. So we do that with the podcast a lot. With Everything Happens, period, the podcast, we just think, okay, what we're about is interdependence, beauty, love. We want to model humility, but we tend to have the same themes. So those kind of help anchor the project, this whole team that gets to work on these conversations. And in my life, I'm someone who has not been able to work my way out of suffering. It just keeps happening. And because of that, I think a lot about fragility and precarity and how we can step into the delicateness of our lives and then try to figure out a way to translate that into a very shiny set of mediums. That's the strange challenge and also like the privilege of it. Having a podcast is like a very weird medium because it's surprisingly intimate. Is people hear you, even like your weird NPR saliva sounds, and they're like, oh my gosh, we know each other. And that it creates like a very strange and wonderful bond where people listen in on what feels like a very private conversation. And then you get an incredible sense of togetherness, and that has been a wonderful community to love. But trying to figure out how to serve each audience is so different. Everyone kind of seems to want a different voice, even for the same message. And I think it's just weird work of discernment to figure out like what And this is like true of churches and places and neighborhoods and congregations, is like, what group is yours to serve? How do you do that with the thing that most closely aligns with your abilities and energies and resources? And then what stuff to just let go? I think just trying to figure out how to serve the actual people we're entrusted with requires that we be open to the platforms that they, or like the ways of communication that they already use. Some people just want email, and they should have email for the rest of their lives. But that we don't have to accept like a hyperfuturism in order to be really faithfully serving the people that we have now. We just have to know every generation faces some kind of deep insecurity about the media that they've been given. It's okay to not be sure how people want to communicate, as long as you're willing to be consistently curious and just be willing to slowly and carefully consider what your choices are. That's why Jesus like swore he's going to come back. It's because he was like, this whole thing isn't over. And therefore we live in the not yetness of this world, in the not yetness of our lives. And lots of times the better we do at this whole thing, the harder it gets to leave. We've created all these gorgeous indebted relationships. We're never going to look at our family members or our friends and be like, oh, all good, thanks. I feel wrapped up on that one. So I think that's part of why we're consistently challenged by our faith to accept the fact that this whole project is going to take a lot of courage. And it's certainly going to be very countercultural to say there's no such thing as like a finished life.